So I come back. As soon as we land in Wichita, McConnell Air Force Base, I can't walk. And I mean, I can't walk. I have to have people help me off the plane because my right foot, I can't put any pressure on it because I went from 120 degrees Fahrenheit to 22 degrees Fahrenheit. And so the change in pressure and temperature caused my foot to completely lock up.
So tell me a little bit about your exit from the military itself. So that transition period, it's like one of the scariest times for service members because, again, you're leaving that brother sisterhood. You're not really quite sure what's next. I mean, the military, as you probably recall, you know, there's a very set ranking structure. There's courses you go to, right? It's very defined. So leaving and going into kind of the abyss of what's next, what was that like for you?
So there was two things here. Like, first off, I knew I was going to get out after 7.5 years. It wasn't that interested in trying to make major. I would have to, there was some boxes I needed to check that I just didn't feel like doing. I was going to have to be like the LNO at Balad, and then I was going to have to finish a master's in something. And I was just like, bro, I just don't want to do this. Before, I was supposed to get out in June of 2011, and I got out in February 2011 because I was medically retired. So for me, there was a little bit more certainty. And I was just going to go live with my mom, who lived in Dallas. My father had passed away. She had this big house. I could just live in Dallas. And Dallas is a fun city to live in. So like when I got out, I really wasn't that stressed. The other thing is I'm going to get in trouble for this, but my unit doesn't exist anymore, to be fair, the 19th Air Refueling Group. I used to take the alert phone and go to nightclubs. I used to go to nightclubs in Atlanta. I was stationed in Warner Robins, Georgia, and I was the alert officer that weekend whenever there were flights that went on during the weekend. You had to have somebody take the phone with them so that they could retask
you were missions. On call and you were like in the club getting lit.
But just so we're clear, I don't drink or do any drugs ever. So like there would be times where I'd be in a hotel room in Atlanta and I was like retasking missions, or at least I had the binder and I would tell them like what it is that was supposed to happen. One of my commanders found out about it, said, you can't, the weekends you have the phone, you can't go to Atlanta. So that's what happened there. So yeah, man, it was, it's just the transition to get out. So what happened was, I got back from the summer surge of 2009 in Afghanistan. I get back, and I remember running to the bus because I was trying to catch the bus to go to Chow, and there was something in my foot, and I thought a rock was in my left foot, in my left shoe. And you know those boots are not made to run in. So I'm talking about the big flight boots, right, with the steel toes. And so I was like, I'm sure there's something happened. And then I was like, oh, you know what this probably is? It's a stress fracture. It's a stress fracture because I played a lot of basketball while I was there. Maybe it's from jiu-jitsu or something. I don't know what it was, but I maybe thought I had a stress fracture. So I come back. As soon as we land in Wichita, McConnell Air Force Base, I can't walk. And I mean, I can't walk. I have to have people help me off the plane because my right foot, I can't put any pressure on it because I went from 120 degrees Fahrenheit to 22 degrees Fahrenheit. And so the change in pressure and temperature caused my foot to completely lock up. So I go to the doctor the next day and they're like, yeah, we're looking to see if you have a stress fracture, but it doesn't look like you have a stress fracture. We're trying to see what goes on. And what they figured out is that I have psoriatic arthritis. So it was one of these things where my foot had swollen up so much because of an arthritic condition. And they started giving me drugs for it, which eventually deniffed me. And it took me a while. Originally, they were going to give me 30% disability. They gave me more than that afterwards once I showed them my x-rays or whatever. And then I got out. It took a while for me to get out. And when I retired, I mean, I think it was probably the best way for me to retire. I think it was perfect amount of time to be in. 7 years is the perfect amount of time.
It's like right at the high too.
Yeah.
You know, you made a great rank.
Well, yeah, I made captain. But the other thing was I also fought in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I was also part of the summer surge of Afghanistan. Like I got to see action. I think if I had done it this last decade, I mean, unless you're a trigger puller, if you're an operator on the ground, you probably would have saw more action. But like, there's not a ton for. I just don't know that 15s, 16s, 22s, and AC-130s were like doing a ton near the end of our engagement in Afghanistan. I don't think they were. When I was there, they were. When I was there, the gunships were still firing.
Where were you at over in Afghanistan?
So because I was stationed, because a KC-135 has like we can fly halfway around the planet. Mm-hmm. We would take off from Doha, Qatar, or from Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. Okay. No, because the problem with Bagram is you need 10,000 feet of runway for a heavy. So you won't see AWACS or the 135 variants, any of the 707 variants, you won't see them land there. They can, but they don't want to do it because it requires too much maintenance. It's too much space. So you see 130s land there, C-17s, things that can land and take off on short runways. Mm-hmm. You'll see them land at Bagram. Or helicopters, a lot of helicopters, a lot of tanks,
tons of helicopters, yeah.
But you're not going to see a ton, like the heavy planes that cost $30 million. Those are going to take off out of Abu Dhabi or they're going to take off out of Doha. And when they take off, you go around the southern end of Iran through Pakistan, and then you go and you fly missions in Afghanistan, and you have enough fuel to get all the way back. It's crazy the distances you can fly. You'll do 12-hour missions. and fly over there. And I saw some pretty crazy stuff when I was there, but it was really interesting. I did special ops air refueling. So basically, I'm not going to say the numbers, but we would refuel at nighttime with no lights on, with aircraft going under 200 knots. Like that's how we would do it. So you can probably figure out what those aircraft were, but like daytime B2 refuelings, that we'd only do that stateside. You don't refuel B2s during the daytime. You would refuel them in the AO. You refuel them at nighttime. We do everything at night. So the way it works with the KC-135 is when you fly nighttime operations, you have to have a navigator on board. You don't have to have one on board during daytime stuff. So I would just only fly the nav missions.
Amazing. Yep. I was over in Afghanistan too. I was over in Sharana, which is a very small base. You know, they have helicopters and stuff there too. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail us from your transition. So you kind of had a plan. You went to your mom's house. What happened next? How did you find some work?
So I the unemployment at first, and I was still getting a paycheck from the government, and I wanted to like become an actor. So I decided to move to Los Angeles.
I did not know this about you.
I moved to LA, and I went to Burbank. I'm still friends with the guys who were my acting coach right now, and me are still really good friends. I will tell you right now, Men of Action exists in part because of what he taught me. I was moving my head too much. I was way too dramatic. There was a bunch of things that I learned from watching this guy and taking this film acting course, and I took it for a while. Then I went to work for him for a while. He was a talent agent, and I learned a ton about Los Angeles. And I learned that, like the stuff that Cat Williams said about like, I don't need somebody touching my booty hole. Like that is real. That I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, like that is a real thing. The Jeffrey Epstein stuff, like it's not the exception. It's kind of the fucking rule there. Like I lived in LA for a while, and I was like, this is the seediest place I've ever been in my entire life.
Oh, 100%. But wait. Yeah. Is the military a seedy place? Because I
mean, to a certain extent, but you're not making 05 because you fucked a fucking colonel. That's not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But people are getting roles for doing sexual favors in
100%.
Bro, it's bad, and I just don't think people understand how bad it is. So anyway, I'm there, and I do that for a while, and I just realized how much I don't like Los Angeles. Like living there, the events there were great. I would have a great time doing those, and then I would go there for parties, and I would do like what's it called, the Maxim parties. I did the Playboy Mansion for a while. I did Babies in Toyland, and I started hosting a bikini competition in Las Vegas. During this time, something happened where I discovered this company called Tasty Trade. Tom Sosnoff and Tony Batista were working there, and it was an online financial network. And they taught me how to trade stock options. So I traded stock options professionally from 2013 to now. I still trade them professionally for a company called Continental Financial Capital. So that's what I did for a living for those years. But if you lived in Vegas, no one knew that. They just thought that I was a dude who just showed up at clubs with a bunch of girls. No one had any idea. People thought I was buying these tables. People thought I was a fucking drug dealer. They thought I was a pimp, whatever, because I would just be with a bunch of girls. There was no context for what I was doing. Until the bikini competitions came out, then it made a little bit more sense. But it was just one of these things where it was like, that Vegas is very much like that. If you go out to a club, you're going to meet people who are like outrageously wealthy and just spend $100K, and you can't understand what they do for a living. You understand? They're like, it's just really hard to explain. They do some kind of B2B shit, where they just don't understand. You don't know what they're doing for a living. And so, I lived here for a while, and I just love Vegas so much because it's just easy. Like I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it, but when you're on base, you can do everything on base. Like there's a BX, and there's like a fucking gym, and there's billeting for your parents if they come visit you, and there's, what I'm saying, there's everything's there. There's a restaurant there. There's a Burger King.
All convenient.
Right. Vegas is like that, but it's a city like that. It's like there's a 5-star restaurant we can go eat at 4:00 in the morning. That you can't do this in other cities. And if I want to go see, my favorite DJs, let's say I want to go see Deadmau5, or if I want to go see Steve Aoki, I can literally just like go there. No, I'm a local, so they let me go in. Other people are paying hundreds of dollars to go see him in concert. I'm just walking in. I'm standing on stage right behind him. Might even shake his fucking hand, and I'm back home in 12 minutes. I just like the city was just so easy. It just reminded me like it was very efficient. My gym is built into my high rise. Like I was like, man, this is great compared to Los Angeles, where I had no place to park. It was just like I just love this place. So that's why I moved to Vegas, and I've never looked back, man. This is definitely the greatest city I've ever lived. If there was no strip, this would still be the greatest city I've ever lived in.